Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer and explore the fascinating, yet honestly kind of conflicting reality of being a creator in the age of artificial intelligence. If you're a writer, an artist, a musician, or really anyone who creates anything at all, you've definitely felt this massive, seismic shift happening right under our feet over the last couple of years. Today, we're looking at a first-hand account from a creator who is wrestling with the very nature of art and self-worth in this completely new technological era. It's a deeply relatable journey, and as you'll see, it moves really fast from absolute awe to a genuine, profound existential crisis.
The source text actually begins with sheer awe. The author has been heavily testing the waters, experimenting across multiple mediums with some top-tier generative tools. They've been using ChatGPT to structure and write comprehensive essays, throwing things into notebook.lm to generate entire conversational podcasts and educational videos, and using Suno to spark incredibly complex musical ideas. And the initial reaction? It's pure fascination. I mean, rightfully so. These tools seamlessly create and enhance text, audio, and music in ways that feel, frankly, like absolute magic. The author really loved how these platforms could take a tiny seed of an idea and just explode it into a fully realized, polished piece of content.
But, that initial magic quickly gives way to a pretty heavy emotional drop. On one hand, there's this undeniable fascination with what the tech can actually achieve. But then comes a profound pivot. The author literally states, "I have to admit, I often find myself profoundly disappointed and discouraged." Now, why discouraged? Well, because the harsh realization hits that the tool you're using to enhance your work is in many ways vastly outperforming you. And that creates an immediate, heavy psychological barrier for absolutely anyone who takes pride in their craft. Section 1. The AI Brilliance Trap. Programmed Perfection. What's truly devastating here is this whole concept of programmed brilliance. The author points out a pretty harsh everyday reality for the modern creator. Think about it. You write an essay or maybe just jot down a few scattered, messy midnight thoughts. Then the AI takes over and expresses those exact ideas far more eloquently than your greatest genuine efforts ever could. Whether it's words synthesized in ChatGPT, spoken dialogue from notebook.lm, or a really catchy melody in Suno, the machine's output feels untouchably polished. If you sit down to put out your absolute best creative effort, you suddenly feel like you can't even begin to measure up to this algorithmic perfection. To really put this immense power into perspective, just think about the number 500. 500 pages. The author realized they could effortlessly churn out a massive 500-page book in just a few days using AI. Think about the sheer volume of that. A giant book that perfectly expresses their specific concepts and views, materialized over a long weekend. But there's a massive catch here that stops the author in their tracks. While the ideas would be theirs, the specific approach, the language chosen to represent those ideas, that wouldn't have genuinely been theirs at all. It would basically be a book filled with their thoughts, but wearing an AI's voice.
And this immense capability forces us and our author to pause and ask a really critical question. Because here's the thing. Once you read or listen to what the AI has generated based on your prompt, you are instantly, unavoidably influenced by it. You literally can't unsee that perfectly structured sentence. You can't unhear that incredibly catchy chorus. So what exactly do you do? Should you completely ignore these machine creations to try and preserve your own authentic voice? Or should you use them freely to produce the best possible final product? Finding that appropriate balance is, for sure, the ultimate tightrope walk for the modern creator.
Section 2. Decades versus seconds. The effort gap.
So here we find the jarring juxtaposition sitting at the very heart of the creator's dilemma. On one side, we have human craft. We're talking about writers, artists, and musicians who spend literal decades of their lives meticulously developing their skills. They pour their souls into studying the nuance of a single brushstroke, the rhythm of a sentence, or the harmony of a chord progression, right? Decades of time, effort, and raw creativity. On the other side, AI systems. These programs can generate exceptionally brilliant material at the drop of a hat, in mere seconds. Honestly, it almost doesn't seem fair. The lifelong, agonizing dedication of a human artist is suddenly going head-to-head with the instant, effortless generation of a machine. Section 3. The secret ingredient, ambiguity in art. Now, let's delve into the ethical gray areas of using these instant results. We're looking at a huge spectrum here, going from purely human on one end, all the way over to purely AI on the other. And the overarching problem? For the audience consuming the art, it's virtually impossible to know the true origin of a work anymore. Because no one can truly know how much of a role AI played, we now have this massive, murky spectrum of undisclosed usage. The author even points out that there have been entire musical bands presented as real, flesh-and-blood groups, only for audiences to later discover they were fully AI-generated from the ground up. The new secret ingredient in modern art is absolute ambiguity.
And hiding this secret ingredient is surprisingly almost dangerously easy. The author outlines a ridiculously common three-step workflow. Step 1, input an idea into ChatGPT, or give Suno a prompt. Step 2, regenerate. You just try it again and again, maybe up to 100 times. Because of how these models work, every single time you hit that button, the material comes out entirely different. And step 3, slightly tweak the final output. You change a few words, adjust a chord progression, just enough to make it feel a bit more yours. The author notes it is shockingly simple to hide the use of this tech from the public by relying on this exact process.
But here is where the tension really ratchets up for professionals. Despite how overwhelmingly common this tweaking process is, and sure, plenty of people openly admit to it in casual settings, there is a profound professional stigma attached to it. The author highlights that when someone actually admits to using these technologies in serious professional work, they often find themselves looked down upon or even entirely rejected by peers in their field. You're essentially expected to deliver the flawless brilliance of an AI, but you risk being ostracized if you openly admit that you partnered with a machine to get there.
Which brings us right back to our central agonizing dilemma. The author points out that if anyone really wanted to, they could easily use these systems, pawn the art off as entirely their own, and the general public wouldn't even bat an eye. But internally, the creator knows the truth. We are left wrestling with this massive ethical conflict. How do we ride the wave of this new, unavoidable technology and use it to our advantage without feeling like we're fundamentally cheating? How do we utilize this undeniably advantageous tool without completely devaluing our own genuine, hard-earned capabilities?
Section 4. No turning back. A profound shift.
The source material brings us to a stark, unavoidable conclusion here. Millions of people have already accepted this technology. Sure, some jumped in enthusiastically, but many others did it quite reluctantly. They realized they simply had to apply these tools just to keep up with the new baseline of productivity and polish. Whether we like it or not, we can't reverse this process. The world has irreversibly changed in a fundamentally profound way. The tools are here, they're deeply integrated into global workflows, and honestly, they are only getting more powerful with every passing day.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final, deeply provocative thought straight from the source material to ponder as you navigate your own creative journey. In a world where an algorithm can effortlessly mimic decades of human craft in a matter of seconds, what, if anything, should remain completely free of the influence of artificial intelligence? Think about your own work, your hobbies, your art, your voice. Where exactly do you draw the line? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this one. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.